Yesterday, Marseille welcomed a lone Italian, Fabio Roscioli, who won his first professional race, but it didn't make a difference overall. Miguel Indurain captains the ship again today as it continues its cruise alongside the Mediterranean, heading for Montpellier. Hello again. Well, the Tour de France assembling this morning, fittingly enough, outside the Olympique Marseille Football Club, because it used to be a cycling velodrome. You know, we're now traversing the very hot south of France, and I think today many of the riders will be more concerned with taking on fluids than actually winning the stage. It gives us a chance to now look at the overall situation a little bit more in depth. Miguel Indurain still leading this race by 3 minutes 23 seconds ahead of Alvaro Mejia. No change yesterday in the top 5 riders overall. But further down, Johan Bruneel, who was once in 3rd place, is now 26th. The first rider outside 30 minutes on Indurain. Robert Miller is 33rd, Sean Yates is 68th. The first man more than 1 hour behind is Dag Otto Lauritsen, 74th. The last man overall in the Tour is Peter Farazijn, 149th, 2 hours, 8 minutes and 8 seconds behind Miguel Indurain. Now, before we join the action, a quick reminder about our competition. It's your last chance to enter. We'd like you to name the winner of the stage tomorrow when the race goes on from Montpellier to Perpignan. Just remember, a number of the big sprinters are now out of this race. We've left those behind in the Alps. This is the telephone number you should ring to make your selection: 0839 44 4554. All of the correct predictions will go into a hat, and one of you will win the leader's yellow jersey signed by the stage winner and indeed by the race leader himself, which I think will be Miguel Indurain. Now, if you need any help, here's who the riders think will win.
I think Johan Museeuw is going to win.
Museeuw or myself?
Abdu, I think. Abdu Sabarov.
Lauritsen.
Abdu Japarov.
I think it's going to be a sprint, and I think Abdu Japarov is going to win.
Moccasin.
Santa Morita.
I think Naidam. He attacked the last kilometer.
Hans Maassen.
I think maybe Steve Bauer is going in an early attack.
If there's a man with good legs, he's going to win. I hope it's me.
And there's a few names for you to conjure with. Stage 13 today from Marseille to Montpellier. It's 182 kilometres and it's largely flat, especially over the final 30 kilometres. In the rollout this morning, led as always by Michel Dernis of Belgium, 147 riders making their way out to the start just after 11 o'clock.
Racing conditions today very similar to those of yesterday, with temperatures soaring to over 30 degrees Celsius again. It'll have many riders looking for bottles, but towards the end the increasing southwesterly wind will push the riders to the finish.
And here's Stephen Roach and Sean Yates enjoying the sunshine. That'll all change as we get nearer the finish. And it's now 12:30, the town of Feur-des-Oliviers, and it's here at 28 kilometres, Abdu Japarov pipping Laurent Jalabert and Olaf Ludwig for the points for that green jersey competition. And here's a sad sight. Neil Stevens, one of only 2 Australians, he's been complaining of sickness all day, tailed off by the Tour de France. He's taken the decision to abandon the race.
Steve, what's the matter? You just feeling a bit dizzy and sick?
Yeah, I've been spewing all night.
Yeah.
It's always sad to see a rider of the quality of the Australian Stevens forced out of the Tour de France, but the race goes on towards the finish. It's been another day of heat and humidity here in the south of France, with only a few riders willing to show at the front. And now the situation is the riders come to inside 25 kilometres to go. 4 riders are out on their own. This is Laurent Desbiens from the Castorama team, trying at last to uphold the good name of the French, because they are still without a stage win in this year's Tour de France after having such a successful race last year with the race lead for many days with Richard Virenque and Pascal Lino. The other riders, Michel Dernis from the Motorola team on the inside coming off the front there, Philippe Louvio, the former champion of France, and Vyacheslav Yekimov, who is the world record holder of world records because he set 29 of them in a very star-spangled career as an amateur. Now the 4 breakaways taking advantage of a field which has continually regrouped today. They've learned the lesson after that long breakaway yesterday by Fabio Roscioli. And more or less the domestics out front, but with the exception of Vyacheslav Yekimov, Paul, because he is an opportunist who loves to be in a small group.
Well, if this group can stay clear towards the finish, he's definitely the man who will try and slip away and win alone. He's a rider who can ride 4 or 5 kilometres extremely quickly over the last few kilometres. The 25 kilometres to go banner, they just had 16 seconds, and it's the team of the two sprinters in the race at the moment who are setting the chase. That's the Telecom team of Olaf Ludwig and the Lampre team of Dumolodin Abduzaparov.
Not surprisingly, because these are the days when the sprinters are going to have to come out and win the stages, because there's not a lot for them in the second week of the Tour de France, the last week rather, the Tour de France. They have the Pyrenees, 3 viciously cruel days there, and the long time trial as well. And so they know they must get the sprinters up to the line today for the points for that green points jersey. Just to explain to you again how they score the points for the green points jersey, one or two have called in asking if we would explain it again. The green jersey is awarded to the race's most consistent daily finisher, because the 15 riders who cross the line each day receive points. And also out on the course at the special sprint points, there are 2 points or 3 points on each day's racing, where they also get points towards that green jersey. It's 6 points if you win a sprint out on the course, 4 and 2, and you score also in the big bunches when you finish at the end. Man with the highest number of points wears the green jersey. Dumolodin Abduzaparov is the leader in that section, a previous winner of this competition, and it's his Lampre team who are now trying to chase down the leading group. One of the sad retirements in the Tour de France today, by the way, Valerio Tebaldi, who was in that chasing group yesterday, crashes today and breaks his collarbone on a stage which he won in 1989 when the race came along to Montpellier.
As they go through the town here of Saint-Just, the gap still round about 16 seconds, and all the teams now starting to move to the front to do the chasing, but the pressure has caused a lot of splits at the back of the field today, with the wind occasionally coming from the side, which is one time had the field split up into 3 different groups, and the third man overall, Zenon Jaskula, was in one of those groups. So it just goes to show, even on these flat stages, you have to be very, very careful.
4 riders trying to escape in the heat as they race towards Montpellier. There's not a ripple on the road now on these last few kilometres to the finish. It's perfectly flat at sea level. And as we come under the 20 kilometre to go banner here now, Vyacheslav Yekimov, a man who's riding his 4th Tour de France, won a stage at Mâcon in 1991 when he broke away in the closing couple of kilometres. He is an opportunist with pure speed, and he'll look for such a move towards the end of the stage today. That's if the main field doesn't bring them back, and it looks as though they will. They're just 8 seconds now after bringing the Tour de France all together on the road into Montpellier. We'll take a break.
Welcome back. Well, before we catch up with the foot soldiers out on the road, let's take a look at the generals of the Tour de France, the men who try and direct the race from behind the safety of a steering wheel, the team managers. Team managers are the men with whom the buck stops. Men, for example, like Jim Okovic, the 8-year veteran of the Tour de France, who's in charge of the Motorola team.
We have a game plan, like most every team in the morning when we start out, and like in most professional sports, that game plan changes every day, and it actually changes during the event. And we're fortunate to be sponsored by Motorola and have a two-way communication system that we can use with the riders without having to drive up into the peloton.
I just told Steve if he needed anything just to let me know, raise his hand. Also, I told him I'd keep him posted on time checks.
Out on the road, the team manager's car is the nerve center of the squad's operations, dispatching instant fix-its for the bikes, bottles for the riders, and one hand on the wheel, some directions on tactics for the race. These are usually given to some nearby team domestique to pass on, but canny as Jim's schemes are, things don't always go as planned.
Museo comes up towards the line. Chianri takes him on, so too Barley Rice coming on the left, and this is going to be very close on. Rice gets it. Rice wins the sprint from Chianri.
The worst thing could have happened to me, you know, is get second, beaten by Rees, you know.
You have to work a lot with everybody to keep them on the same level, because you want to have a team that's all thinking and acting on the same plane.
Jim owns his team and so is also in charge of choosing the team's riders. His bright young hope right now is a 21-year-old American champion named Lance Armstrong, the surprise winner of Stage 8 of the Tour.
I think he has a very aggressive and a winning personality. Plus he has the motor to back it up. He's got a big engine, and I think that he knows how to use it, and that's a big advantage for him, knowing how to use what he has to work with.
Well, vital experience having been gained, Jim took the young American rider out of the Tour after the 2 Alpine stages. Armstrong exited at Isola 2000 with a big smile. Not all of Motorola's crew bowed out of the mountains so gracefully. So it's a slightly more compact but still very healthy Motorola squad that met this morning to sort out tactics for the road to Montpellier.
And at the finish, as we approach the town, you're going to be on the big main road coming into town, into Montpellier. I think the important thing at that point in the last 20 kilometers is that, you know, we keep an eye on Alvaro and Andy. We need to keep an eye on them, but at the same time, Max is going to go for the sprint today, so we should all be there at the end together, organized.
So that was the word this morning at Motorola High Command. Let's see if everything's going according to plan, though. Back to Phil and Paul.
Well, thanks, James, and it certainly seems at the moment as though Motorola are trying to break in here on the last sprint of today's stage, which is coming about 12 kilometres from the end at Moguiu. The polka dot jersey here of Tony Rominger, number 131, in action today in the mountains, having won one of the climbs, the only climb today, a 4th category climb, and now shooting away to get across the gap to that leading group. And as we go up to the leaders here, they've gone through, but the race, in fact, is splitting up, and Miguel Indurain is taking a close interest now in the way this race is fragmenting at the front.
Well, that was a surprise move to see him there, but the race has been so agitated over the last few kilometres that he wants to keep himself covered and keep away from the kind of crashes that Tony Rominger had yesterday. Rominger also being very attentive. In fact, Rominger just bridging up to the leading group of 5 riders now with Miguel Indurain in his wheel. Number 35 is Steve Bauer. Stephen Roach is also in this group, 11 kilometres from the finish.
Well, Stephen Roach, who suffered terribly with a back problem during the early part of this Tour de France, especially in the Alps. He called in his doctor from Munich to come and crack his back for him, and we saw the result yesterday. He was in the thick of the action early on, and there he is today now. So quite clearly, this is the man with the magic fingers that helps Stephen Roach every year. He cured his injured knee as well, and Stephen clearly places a lot of confidence in him. There's the result, and quite an interesting result at that sprint. Marc Sergeant winning from John Tall and Steve Bauer in 3rd place. Now here's Indurain. Stephen Roach also in the action. A very interesting final few kilometres. I think it's because of the attack by Tony Rominger, who's 4th overall in the Tour de France. Indurain will give him a very special attention, because with the Pyrenees still to come, he knows that Tony Rominger might have the ability to drop him in the high mountains of the Pyrenees. And don't forget that Rominger rides on a Spanish team, although he's Swiss, and in Spain they will be shouting his name as much as Miguel Indurain's.
It's surprising to see this group going clear. In fact, they've got about 200 metres at the moment. At the moment, the team at the front doing all the chasing is the Telecom team still. They're hoping to get it all back together for their sprinter Olaf Ludwig. But you can see how hard this race has been so far. There are riders getting tailed off on a flat stage, which is supposedly a rest stage before we get to the mountains.
And you can see just how many tired riders there are as this field splits up. 10 kilometres to go. There were in fact 147 starters on the road this morning. 35 riders though have now abandoned the Tour de France. 2 non-starters, Thierry Marie, who's worn the yellow jersey and won stages before, and Andrea Ferrigato riding his first tour. He didn't start today either. And 2 riders have abandoned. Neil Stevens of Australia reducing the Aussie input in this race to 1 now, Phil Anderson. And Valerio Tebaldi, who has crashed and broken his collarbone, taken away to hospital, and that extremely sad because he won this stage into Montpellier in 1989. 36.2 miles an hour, or kilometres an hour rather, the speed today. Still on a record average though, 40.632. Miguel Indurain is the leader in yellow, Tony Rominger the polka dot, and Abdu Japarov the green. And that's the way it should stay too when we arrive in Montpellier. And the yellow jersey very prominent. He had a little bit of a rest day on his birthday yesterday, Miguel Indurain, but today he's marking the riders very closely indeed.
Well, the man at the front starting to chase again is Claudio Chiappucci. Surprising to see Stephen Roach up there and driving in that breakaway, and Chiappucci really trying to drag the whole peloton along on his own. He should leave it up to the Telecom riders because they've got an organised chase. You can see most of them to the front here, trying to pull it back together sensibly, and sometimes Chiappucci just reacts rather than thinks about what he's doing.
And just trying to turn away there. This is Rominger, and Rominger is turning out to be a man now who's finding his form in this Tour de France. What a shame he had that penalty slapped on him of 1 minute for something that was not of his own doing in the team time trial, when two of his teammates pushed one another simply to keep up with him in that team time trial. Otherwise he would now be third overall in this race and a minute nearer Miguel Indurain.
Some other good riders in this group as well. Frans Maassen, who's been very active today. The Word Perfect team not had a super Tour de France this year. He'll definitely be looking for a win if they can stay away. Also, Francis Moreau, the rider in the white jersey, just going to the front at the moment. He's on the GAN team, the team that Greg LeMond rides for normally. A former World Pursuit champion who could as well get away from a group as we get in towards the run-in. And the Nove Mai rider just off the screen there at the back is Mark Sargent.
It's not actually working out as a great group, this, Paul. There's a lot of riders who are passengers in the line.
Well, Bauer obviously because of Mejia, who is lying in second place overall. Tony Rominger has said that his goal is to get onto the podium in Paris to finish in the top three. Well, Bauer is riding on the team of Alvaro Mejia, who is in second place overall at the moment, and that has started to put a little bit of miscontent into the race here, and it looks as if it's all going to come back together as we come into the streets of Montpellier.
5 miles to go. Stephen Roach, the first man under the banner. 5 kilometers to go, 3 miles, as again attack comes. It looks like Francois Simon is launching an attack. He's realized that the big field is right up behind this leading group as we pass the Spanish flag there. And Simon goes, immediately marked.
Frans Maassen is the man from Word Perfect who marked him there. He's jumped straight across. Maassen is looking for the break, looking for the chance to get away as they get into the town. And now there might just be a little bit of a slowing down as they go onto the streets of Montpellier. Behind the riders have just been caught, so they'll all start to slow down a little bit, and it might be a tactical moment to give these two riders a chance to get away. Otherwise, the Telecom team will have to start chasing behind again.
Frans Maassen, the sort of race he would win, an opportunist indeed, but a very strong rider, well known to enthusiasts in Britain for his victory when he was the champion of Holland over in Newcastle upon Tyne there. 4 kilometers to go. The kilometers tick away so quickly at this sort of speed. And Francois Simon carrying the weight of France here. He'd like a little bit of help, and I don't know whether he's going to get it from Frans Maassen, who will try to leave him behind in the last kilometre. And now we're seeing the whole race also close in. And this could well be a very good bunch sprint here, because they've come onto the back of the two leaders very, very quickly indeed. The Motorola team will sense this is a chance now for Max Chandry to win. The Lamprey team will sense equally that their man, Jamaluddin Abdu Japarov, can flex his little muscles in the home straight today. It's just the sort of sprint he would love. It's quite a long straight. And the other sprinter in the Lamprey team, Jan Zverada, won't be too far away either. Because now that Wilfred Nellison and Mario Cipollini are out of this Tour de France after their journey through the Alps, the sprinters remaining know that the odds on them winning is that much greater. Noticeable now that the pink tops there of the German Telecom team are getting their men to the front. Brian Holm as well, because they want Olaf Ludwig up there, who's been finishing better and better each day in the sprints. He was in that breakaway yesterday as well. And it's the Gatorade riders now who have gone to the front. And this looks like Stefano Zanata, who's now leading out. I don't see any sign of the world champion Gianni Bugno there. He's distinctive for the Gatorade riders because he wears the jersey of the world champion. And now again on the other side of the road is the Ariostia boys going. And braking very, very hard indeed.
Looked a little bit like Rolf Yearman coming round the corner, but I would be surprised because the last couple of days he's been somewhat sick.
I'm wondering, in fact, Paul, if it was Santario Marita who's trying there for the stage victory. Although now he's settled down in that familiar position, I think Ralph Yeoman is a better bet. He's not a great sprinter, but he's enjoying his great season, and when you're riding on top of your form like he is this year, then you tend to do things you wouldn't normally do, and that this isn't normally the attack that Yeoman would do. He's won a stage in the Tour de France before in Valkenburg when he outwitted Stephen Roach towards the finishing line there on top of a little climb known as the Cowberg. And so Yeoman now coming towards the line, looking underneath there to see just how far he's got to go, and this will be a surprise if he's beaten the sprinters. He's taken advantage of a late jump for the line, but they're coming back, and it's the Motorola team dragging this race back into contention now. They want, in fact, to see their rider Max Chiandri in the sprint here today, and slowly but surely they're going to pull Ralph Yeoman back into the pack as the sprinters mass behind him now, and the Judo Bolts, I think, starting out, and Olaf Ludwig is on his wheel. Ludwig now lining up, the former green jersey winner of the Tour de France. The green jersey is there too of Jamaluddin Abdul-Japarov. Abdul-Japarov is in third place now as the riders start to fan out all over the road. Abdul-Japarov goes on the left. Ludwig comes through. Abdul-Japarov still has Ludwig's wheel now. And on the line, Ludwig is going to take it. Olaf Ludwig gets it. Abdul-Japarov is second as all of the sprinters flood home together there. The little sprinter didn't quite read it right, and the team, the only complete team in the race, made full use of their team today to bring their sprinter Olaf Ludwig home nice and clean at the finish. We can see now as Olaf Ludwig breaks for the lead here off the wheel of a teammate. Jamaluddin Abdul-Japarov fighting to get onto that back wheel and close down at just a few centimetres rather before he gets on. Then he gets on. He then starts to move to the right, still leaving himself plenty of time, but Ludwig beat him for once today. In the end, it all came down to the sprinters. Olaf Ludwig taking the victory ahead of Jamaluddin Abdul-Japarov, Johan Museo, Giovanni Fidanza and Frédéric Moncassin, who tried to get the elusive victory for France. Tonight on the podium, another maillot jaune for Miguel Indurain. He's getting quite a collection now, isn't he? There was no change in the overall classification today, all of his rivals finishing alongside him in that big pack. But you know, tonight on the Tour de France, they're not talking so much about Miguel Indurain or indeed about Olaf Ludwig. They're talking about a Scot, Graham O'Brien, because in Harmer, just outside of Oslo today, on the velodrome there, Graham O'Brien set the figures for the most prestigious record in world cycling, the most kilometres covered in 1 hour. He recorded 51.596 kilometres in the hour, and that betters the figures by almost 500 metres of Francesco Moser of Italy, and that record has lasted for 9 years. Miguel Indurain himself has said one day he will go for that record. Well, now he will have to reset his sights. O'Brien now joins an honours list which contains Fausto Coppi, Jacques Anquetil, Roger Rivière, Eddie Merckx and indeed Francesco Moser. It's a marvellous day for British cycling, and many congratulations to Graham O'Brien. Now I can tell you too that the Olympic champion Chris Boorman will go next week for that very record during the Tour de France when we go to Bordeaux. We'll be there and we hope to see you then. Tomorrow the Tour de France goes on, and it's been a great day for Britain as well today. Goodbye from us all here.